Hello everyone, welcome to today's video, and in today's video we are going to talk about road rage while driving. Real stuff, people. A video I've been wanting to make a long while, but here we go. Let's get into it. So, I want to give a disclaimer. Well, I want to say a couple things. Number one, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, notification bell, and like this video. That would be most appreciated. So, I want to give a quick disclaimer. It's Saturday, alright? This video idea came up as a late notice, didn't have time to really prepare, so I just wanted to go ahead and just make up the video. Plus, it's Saturday, you know, my elbow is hurting. I got a thing to, you know, keep it braced, and so yes, this is why I look the way I look today. But today we want to talk about road rage, and I want to talk about this story because it's been a long time since I've made a video like this. But yeah, I want to try to get into it quick, in case I get any phone calls or anything, then can't do this, obviously. Alright, let's go and let's get started. As you guys know, I was a cyclist for many years. And what happened was, in 2021, we'd moved somewhere where I couldn't really ride my bicycle. So basically cycling came to an end. And then moved back, tried to get back into cycling, and that was just as hard as it was starting all over again, practically. And then obviously with the weather conditions and everything, heat and all, it's just that cycling. And of course I've had my fair share of road rage related incidents that, well, that's a video for another day. I mean, I've covered it throughout the past, so yeah. But today we're going to talk about road rage. So, I've been driving for almost 3 years now. I have I've driven 3 different vehicles. Now on the 3rd vehicle that I've driven. Okay? And in the mix of that you have road rage and stuff like that. And that's why I just don't have a desire to go out anywhere. Unless I really need to, because of road rage and road related incidents. So let's go ahead, let's talk about it. Well, we're already talking about it. So what are we doing now? I'm just messing with you guys. Alright, so this happened. Alright, so this is gonna be all over the place, but let me go ahead and talk about, let me go ahead and say something first, okay? So, as you guys know, I first started out driving my mom's car, and then, I was given a, Plymouth van, minivan, I guess you could say, as my first vehicle just to kind of get me started. Well then, that vehicle ended up, let's just say it's old, and, once a vehicle gets old like that, you just can't get plates for it no more, you know what I mean? Regular plates, I mean. So yeah, so then, we got a 3rd vehicle, which is now a Jeep Wrangler, JK. Because I've always said, even back in 2020, I said, oh, I'm going to get a Jeep, put up a dash cam and all. Well, here we are, we got the Jeep now. Or a Jeep, I should say. Here we are, folk. Now, as for getting a dash cam, I'm not quite too sure. I'm still thinking about it. There's just a lot of things right now in my life that need to be considered. Primarily because of finances, stuff going on in life, all that. So, yeah. So now I'm getting to the story time. So this happened to me when I first started driving. It was like maybe like a couple weeks or so after I had just got my initial permit. It was my mom's birthday, right? And we were going home. And what happened was there was this car that was behind me, right? And the speed limit changed from 40 to 30. Well then apparently it changed back into 40 and I wasn't doing the speed limit. Which I know I know you guys are going to start hounding, but hear me out on this. I was a new driver. I was not paying attention to my speedometer, and that's why I fell under speed. So I speed back up. Well, then I changed lanes, and apparently I had this long lane, and I must have started to brake before going into the lane, and when they pulled up next to me, they beeped at me. And I was just so reactive. I was trying to hit the horn back, and I couldn't even beep at them back, and yeah. But now looking back on it, I can understand why. So yeah, you know, I can just tell you that, you know, it's a rough world out there. But speaking of doing under the limit, I actually had, when I was driving the van, I had a bit of an issue. Because the speedometer apparently was, I suspect, it's 5 mile an hour off. Because what would happen to me, I'd just be doing the limit, people would be tailgating me, I'd have a huge line of cars behind me. Well, not a huge line of cars, but you know, I'd have a train behind me. I'd also have all kinds of crap, you know. But actually, these people like to do 10 over the limit in different state. And what happened was I was going on a road one day, and this driver was speeding like crazy, right? And I was just doing my normal speed, right? They come around, and we're on a country road where you can pass on the left side, but this person chose to pass me on the right side, which is on the shoulder. And I blew the horn at them, and they were long down the road. And do you know why I blew the horn? So the same person who got me the van also was driving their Jeep, if you know what I mean. And the same thing happened to them one day while we were leaving a restaurant, which actually is known as a diner now. So we were leaving that restaurant, right, and somebody went around him on the right, and he went and blew the horn. So yeah, I guess you could say, was that a prime example? I have no idea. But all I know is that this person passed me illegally on the right, and they just flew right around me. But it didn't only happen once, it happened twice. One time, I was on a road where it was like 30 miles an hour. Same type of setup, country road, shoulders. This person behind me must have been in such a hurry because they drove around me on the right again. So I went and blew the horn at them again, and then they apparently tried to hit their brakes and tried to brake check me, but I was so far back, I'm like, what are you doing? So then they just turned off. And yeah, I mean, I blasted the horn, blasted it. From the moment that I saw their car enter that shoulder in my mirror, I was on the horn. Now, maybe you guys might be wondering, well, it's your fault for driving 5 under the limit. Well, doesn't mean it's okay for them to pass on the right, too. They can pass on the left. That's how it is. At least I'm not doing 10 under. There's that. But, let me tell you something here, okay? In that state, you have the option to use the shoulder if someone's making a left turn. That's what usually most people do. Except I wasn't making a left turn. I was on the road and I was being passed illegally. So yeah, that's what happened. And, just these drivers are just so impatient. You can be doing 5 over the posted speed limit. One would still just come right past you on the country road. Legally passing you and all. Sometimes. But yeah, it is quite bizarre. I can tell you that. Now, not only did that happen one time, but one time I was on another road, same setup. I was going down the road, right? And there was a garbage truck that was in the road doing garbage. There was traffic coming out of the way. This crazy minivan was right behind me, tailgating me the whole way. And finally, when I go around the garbage truck when it's clear, he also does the same thing. And he very well could have rear-ended me. Who would have been at fault at that? I have no case, but he could have rear-ended me. because he was, you know, I'm like, dude, are you really in that patient of a hurry? So then after we go in front of him, right, and I go over, he just flies around me. I'm like, you must be a cab driver or something, because nobody in your normal sense would do that. So yeah, that was crazy, wasn't it? So yeah, so that's my story of crazy speeders in the van with crazy stuff. So one time I was coming home, I had to drop my mom off somewhere, and I was coming home, and it was nighttime, and and I had put on my signal to go right into the development, to go in the right lane, right turning lane, right, and to the left of me there's a shared turning lane that runs all the way down, and then it cuts off that leads out to where you can go left. There was a car one night. It wasn't necessarily tailgating, but they were behind me, and I put on my right signal, right, and then they just go to the left of me into that lane, going straight down that lane the whole way until they decided to turn left. But it was only because I had turned on my signal to the right. That's why they did what they did, right? So I'm like, so I went and stopped and looking at me like, what are you doing? That's just crazy. Could that be schizophrenia? You know, a right signal comes on and that just tells you to illegally pass somebody, illegally drive on the road, illegally use the turning lanes. I mean, you know, just to change lanes like that, you think someone's going to be in your way. That's just weird. You know what I mean? Maybe schizophrenic, I don't know. You know? I mean, there are just some weird things that other drivers do when you do something. And that's what this all comes into play. What in the world is going on here? But then there was another time I was driving my mom's car. When I was going up to a truck stop to get something for dinner, right? And to get gas and stuff like that, and you know. And I was turning left, and there was a semi truck that was stuck out in the road a little more, and I was stopping at the left turn, right? And because this truck was in the road, there was oncoming traffic coming towards me, and this person could have hit me head on because the truck was sticking out, and the person went and drove to the left, and luckily, and I had to actually get out of my lane to avoid getting hit by this person. I mean, there could have been a chance they could have gotten by me with no hits, but more than likely this person could have hit me on the front left side. Could have been a really bad accident. 40 miles an hour, I bet. And I had to avoid them because they were going to crash into me. And then, as I was sitting there waiting for turn, there was the semi-truck was been blaring his air horn at me because he was mad that I was in his way, supposedly. So I was like, whatever, and I went off. So yeah, that was definitely confirmed road rage right there. This one comes from my mom's side of the story. My mom and I were going to Walmart, or a Walmart I should say, and she didn't wait for this lady to back out of a parking spot. My mom was all impatient, and yeah, I probably should have been driving, because if I was in that situation I wouldn't have done that. My mom was all impatient, you know. She flies in them parking lots and stuff, and somebody was backing up out of a parking spot, and my mom didn't let this lady back out, so my mom blows the horn at the lady because the lady almost backed into her, and then my mom pulls into a parking spot, the lady pulls up, sits there, rolls her window down, and my mom and her exchange words. The lady says, "Hey, did you see me there?" And my mom's like, oh no, yeah. And she's like, well, blah, blah, blah. You should have seen me and stopped. And mom's like, well, I didn't. And yeah, she's like, yeah, you ignorant. And went off on her way. So yeah, that was because my mom didn't let the person back up. And that is why you should always be aware of that. Just because that you might have the right of way doesn't necessarily mean that, like, you know, people are not going to care. Some people actually rely too much on common courtesy. Like with the next story I'm going to tell you. So yeah, long story short, you know, you can't rely on common courtesy. Alright, so let me tell you a story. So this happened to me in 2023. It was Thanksgiving weekend, and I was on the interstate, and this Ford, I forget what the name of it's called, forget the name of it, Ford something. It's like the little cube SUV thing. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. I just can't think of the name right now. But this car merging on the interstate, they didn't check their blind spot, and I couldn't get over. Well, I could have gotten over, but the thing is that when you're merging on the interstate, you're supposed to align yourself with the traffic that's already there. You know, if there's somebody coming up behind you, then you either slow down and get behind them or go in front of them. Or if there's somebody next to you, you're either going to slow down and get behind them, or you're going to speed up and get in front of them. You don't do anything and then just casually just cut over like they're not even there. And that's what exactly happened to me. Somebody cut over, and I was blowing the horn and everything, and I went and moved it, and I was forced over into the other lane. So then, as I was going up traffic, I went around the truck. They go around the truck. And then I get back over. They get back over. I get off at an exit. They get off at an exit. And I'm thinking that they're going to follow me because they're pissed off that I laid on the horn. So I'm starting to freak out. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're following me. So what I did was I got off the interstate. I quickly, I tried to get away from them. And then I pulled into a truck stop, and at the very last minute, they changed lanes to keep going straight. So yeah, if you're ever being followed by somebody, don't immediately go to destination or home. And that's exactly where I was going. They were following me. And so, or at least I thought they were following me. Because, I mean, how would you like it if some obnoxiously loud Volkswagen Tiguan horn was blasting at you when you cut somebody off on the interstate? I mean, they should definitely have checked their blind spot. They must have relied on common courtesy too much. Because the thing is, what I was told by a driving instructor is, you don't have to give them a right of way. If you choose to wreck into somebody merging on the highway, it's their fault because they didn't do what they were supposed to do. And I was forced out of the lane, and they relied on common courtesy too much. You know what I mean? And that's just the crappiest part of driving on the interstate, is having to merge onto the interstate. In my opinion, because there were a couple times where I've tried to merge and I couldn't merge, and I ended up having to cut people off because traffic's so backed up and everything. It's a real pain in the neck dealing with it. So yeah, so I thought the person was following me, so I just went and stayed in case, because I don't know, they could be road rage. Could have been road rage. I mean, if you were getting honked at by somebody, wouldn't you do the same thing if you were in denial? If you were merging on the interstate, somebody just started blaring the horn at you because you cut them off, you didn't check your blind spot properly, or you didn't properly merge. So yeah, they had the yield, and they completely just cut over without even doing it properly. So yeah, that's a problem. And sometimes, you can't. But when you're merging on interstate, you don't just cut over like that. You either speed up or slow down and then get over. You don't just jut over like that. Okay, so recently I was in the Jeep and I was going down the street and somebody was on the side of the road, or on the side of the street rather, and they just cut right in front of me. They didn't even, I think they tried to treat it like it was a merge, but it wasn't a merge. They cut in front of me. And yeah, that's a prime example of people relying on common courtesy too much. They cut right in front of me to the point to where I had to put on my brakes. And they were on the side of the road. And they just treat it as if it's a merge. Well then, there was the little crosswalk, nothing there. I was behind them. They decided to just put on the brakes. And I'm like, don't you mess with me! Because I'll pull over, because I ain't going to have you brake checking me the whole way. So yeah, so that is what has happened one time. And I almost could have, if I hadn't given them the right of way, I could have ran into them. And that's the prime example of relying too much on common courtesy. You cannot expect somebody to just let you in. You know what I mean? Like, not everybody is like that. There are some people that if you're not in a lane all the way, they'll just go right in front of you. So that's my thing is they rely on common courtesy too much. They think that, that person's going to slow down and let me over. No, they're not. Because you ain't even paying attention. I mean, you can't assume that somebody's going to let you out. It doesn't work like that. You just can't assume, that person's going to let me out. Why don't I just do something stupid? No, that's not the way it works. And, and following up with that Jeep thing is, so anyway, so I followed that person all the way down the road because they were going the same way I was going. Part of me felt like stopping and saying, if I hadn't stopped, I would have ran in the back of you, right? But I didn't do that. But anyway, so, and then this other time, the same day, there was a car that was in the shoulder, that moved in the shoulder, and they were backing up into a driveway. Well, I thought they were trying to make a U-turn like that. I'm like, if they made a U-turn, so I went and put on the brakes a little bit, because in the Jeep, you really can't slam on the brakes, or else this really loud scraping noise is going to happen, and you won't be able to stop. So, yeah. So I had no choice but to put on the brakes, because I wasn't going to stop if they cut in front of me. And then being in a smaller car, there would have been some significant damages. Let's just say that. The car might even be totaled. Let's just say. So yeah, people need to really use their heads when they're on the road. I mean, it's not just young drivers. It's not just older drivers. It's kind of drivers in between. Like, they don't seem to understand that 40-mile-an-hour crash happens, airbags blow off, and your car is totaled and somebody is potentially killed. And yeah. So with that being said, just simply don't drive like an idiot on the road. Because at 40 miles an hour, wreck happens, this happens, it's bad. You got people tailgating you and everything. I mean, there's a lot to worry about. So if you're thinking about getting your driver's license and you're not licensed before, well, let me share some words of advice with you. Words of advice number 1. Don't travel that much. If you have to go somewhere, go somewhere. But every time you drive on the road, you risk the following happening. Number 1, road rage. Number 2, accidents. And number 3, getting pulled over by the police or being broke down. There's a lot of things out there that you got to be aware of, and you know what's up. And, my suggestion is don't speed. The fastest you should go on the road is 5 over. On every road. Don't, well, except for residential neighborhoods. Don't go any more faster than that. Because you risk it getting pulled over, and you risk of not being able to react in time. Being pulled over is a big deal. Especially if you're a new driver. Because if you're a new driver and you get pulled over by the police, or sheriff deputies, or state troopers, or whatever the case might be, you can lose your license if they choose to cite you. So yeah, it's very important to not do anything like that. Don't speed, don't do any of that. The thing is, if you drive the speed limit, you might have drivers behind you, potentially, possibly tailgating you. But, I mean, just be aware if they get too PO'd at you, they might invoke road rage, but don't necessarily worry about that. Another thing is, just don't drive very much. Stay safe. Don't speed. Follow the traffic laws and you should be fine. But you need to really watch out for other drivers, though. Because some people are not paying attention and some other people do the most dumbest of crap. And, you just gotta be on alert. So yeah, guys, as I'd love to talk more, unfortunately it is starting to get dark, and this came up as late notice, as I said. So, thank you guys for watching today's video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in another video. See ya.